Who doesn't like a comeback story? Your eyes aren't deceiving you. This is the MG G50 Plus. It was known as the Maxus G50 before. Now, we don't know whether it's because of the unfamiliarity with the Maxus name, and that's the reason why this vehicle wasn't a success before. But the fact of the matter is, this badge right here means it's now just a big success in the MPV segment. Now, that aside, is its success justified, or are we looking at a dud of a remake? I'm Yuli Ang, this is CarGuide.PH, and this is my take on the MG G50 Plus. Okay, let's get the elephant out of the room first. What has changed between its transformation from a Maxus to an MG? From the front end, it's basically just the grille and the bumper. There's a lot more chrome here, and that's actually very subjective. Some people like chrome, some people don't. It sort of gives it a more premium flair and flavor, and that's something unique, I guess, to its price point, which is less than 1.3 million pesos. That aside, everything else is almost carried over. These headlights came from the Maxus G50. The wheels, the 17-inch wheels, also still came from the Maxus. And even things like the side view mirrors, the tailgate, the wipers and all that, it is pretty much a Maxus G50 rebadged as an MG. Now, in terms of design, some people don't like it because it sort of looks incongruous. Different front end, different rear end, but hey, again, what can you do? It's an MPV. It's all about carrying people, and I guess for that way, at least MG has given this an angry parent look, which makes it a bit more aggressive compared to your other soccer mom MPVs. Now, as you step inside, the interior is again pretty much like the Maxus before, and that's not such a bad thing, because what MG has done is they've carried over all the nice stuff. So the driving position is very lofty. It's more SUV than MPV-like. And of course, the view out of the road is also fairly good because of the high-set seats. The steering wheel lacks any telescopic adjustment, but that's actually pretty fine because the ending driving position, at least for me, I find it comfortable and ergonomic enough. The quirkiness, though, still continue in this model, and things like the counterclockwise tachometer is still there. That actually makes it pretty hard to read, but what I like is that they kept the large LCD screen in the middle, and you can go through different sorts of car data, including speed, mileage, tire temperatures, tire pressures, and all that. So at least they did some work in that regard. In terms of interior quality and materials, there are a lot of soft touch plastics right here in the front, but the moment you step to the second and third row, you will feel all the hard plastics right there. If there's one thing I didn't like, is the way MG has migrated the center console from the traditional shifter that you found in the Maxus to this complicated one right here in the MG, and I'll explain. First of all, you'll find that there's no shifter right here in the center. No dial, no shifter, what have you. What you get here is actually a pad, but this is not a wireless charging pad. It's just a place for you to put your cell phone, but it does nothing. At the very least, they put the cup holders right here in the front, freeing up an additional bin right here, so you can put things like wallets, keys, and what have you right here. And there's also the small storage right here in front of it. Now, if you're looking for the shifter, it's right here. It's this stock. Now, if you're used to the European cars, okay, great, because operating it can get intuitive. It's like you flick up for reverse, you can hear the parking sensors, flick down for drive, and to put it in park, you just press here. But then again, where did the lights go? Well, that's the thing. The lights actually went to a console right here. Again, very Euro. But the confusing aspect is the way they put the wipers right here. The wipers operate by you twisting down, the washers actually operate by you twisting down on the stalk. If you want to activate the wipers themselves, it's actually a twist up action. Rear wipers, it's you press down the stalk right here in the at the end. And of course, the things like signal lights are all right here. Now, again, I guess after a while it all becomes muscle memory, but if you spend about a week with the G50 Plus, it can all get confusing. And believe me, that happened to me a couple of times. Now, in terms of infotainment, it still has the 12.3-inch screen as before, but thankfully, MG has now added Apple CarPlay and Android Auto into the mix. It's not wireless, so you still need to put your plug right here and the USB is just right here, but at least you do get the convenience of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto for the first time in the G50. Other features of the G50 Plus, especially the Lux version, that I don't particularly like is this one. It's the climate control system. Now, at least they kept the climate control shortcuts right here, but it's of a capacitive type, meaning it's kind of hard to navigate when you're on the move. So for example, if I want to press things like turn it off or on, you'll have to actually aim for it, and that's quite difficult when you don't know what you're pressing while the car is moving. Other quirks include the lack of any audio controls right here. If you want to change the volume, for example, you have to kind of swipe down on the screen, and the screen's not that responsive, and that's the only way for you to change the volume of the radio. Okay, now it's time for us to get to the second row. Now, you'd be surprised because the Maxus G50 came out in the Philippine market around 2021, and it's now 2025, and as the MG G50 Plus, the price has actually stayed the same. It's still the same 1.288 million, of course with the 888 at the end, MG trademark. But what happened? How were they able to price the car just the same as before? Well, some of the features kind of disappeared. For example, you don't get the very bold black and red colorway. This is all black right now. You also don't get the panoramic sunroof, which was one of the unique features of the Maxus before. But at least when it comes to the second row comfort, it's still pretty much solid. Lots of space, reclinable captain seats. This is the first time this option has been made available for the Philippine market, and at least it gives you recline options. You can move the seats forward and backward. It even has armrests, and things, other nifty stuff would include things like the multi-pockets right here behind the driver and front passenger seat. So there's no reason for you to lose things like your cell phone or wallets if you like putting it out of your pocket, because you can put them in designated pockets right here at the seat front. Now we're gonna move to the third row. Now we're talking about the features that they removed for its transformation to the G50 Plus. Get a load of this. This is the top of the line variant, and as you would notice, the power tailgate has actually disappeared. Towards the really back, which is the cargo area, as you can see, the G50 Plus has this large square cargo hold. And this is a normal backpack, but you can imagine just the wealth of space you can put in here. Balaikbayan boxes, luggage, and everything will fit in here with no issue. And similar to some other MPVs out there, the split of the third row is actually quite different, because get a load of this. The third row split is actually 60-40, which means you can put two people. Okay, so that's actually a problem right there. If you forget to put the second row seats forward, the third row will actually hit the backrest. So word of caution, if you're gonna get a G50, you might have to move the second row seats forward a bit before you can actually bring up the third row. But anyway, we'll get back to bringing that up. But again, I'd have to mention that in terms of cargos, in terms of third row passenger space, at least you can get the 60-40 split right here. So that means you can fit one person right here at the back and still put luggage right here, or if you need to fit two other people, they can scrunch up to that one side and put luggage right here. Okay, now I'm going to put up the seats. So with the third row up, again, the space is still ample. You can put things like groceries, duffel bags for that weekend trip. Again, you get 3-point seat belts for everyone and adjustable headrests as well. So in terms of comfort, at least MG has thought things through, and I would have to say that in terms of packaging and flexibility, the G50 Plus is actually quite up there. So how is it to drive the G50 Plus? Well, pretty much it's the same as before. It's still powered by a turbocharged 1.5-liter engine, and that's par for the course when it comes to the Chinese offerings. That would also mean it's connected to a 7-speed dual clutch wet type transmission. Overall, it's okay when you're driving around in city traffic. It's not the fastest MPV out there, but because of its amazing output, it's about 181 PS now of power and 285 Newton meters of torque. It's actually quite punchy. It actually has better power to weight ratio than, for example, the Toyota Innova. And it shows because even with 2 people on board, it gives ample thrust. Issues with the car, well, the gearbox is clearly designed for you trundling around in city traffic, because the moment you push it, the gearbox tends to get a bit rocky and a bit confused, so that can make the passenger experience not as great. In terms of steering, of course, it's very light, and there's only so much you can do with an MPV. In this regard, it's a bit roly-poly, it's a bit soft, but again, as a passenger or people carrier, it ticks the marks. It's not exactly the most exciting car to drive out there, but what's more important is that it feels confident and it feels solid. Issues, well, visibility is actually a surprising issue with the G50 Plus, and it's for something that you would find surprising. It's actually the design of the windshield. I think it's very clear that in designing the G50 Plus, MG just pretty much scrounged up whatever parts that they could find in their parts bin, and that results in a fairly large unwiped area of the windshield whenever the wipers are turned on. I actually left the car unclean for you guys to see it in the B-rolls, but you would notice that a large corner of the passenger side is left unwiped, and that would mean difficulty when navigating things like intersections. I think once or twice I would get surprised by motorcycles getting into that view and I wouldn't see it. So those are the little things that I find a bit difficult with the G50 Plus. And of course, again, another reason why the MG G50 Plus is actually cheaper is because they removed some of the maneuverability features. So for example, you don't anymore get the front sensors, and you also don't get a 360 camera. What you do get would be rear sensors and a rear parking camera. But come on, I think for a lot of people out there, especially they're considering a car of this size, I mean, this is about 4.8, 4.9 meters long. They would expect at least having front sensors to help them navigate through tight parking spaces and tight turns. Realizing that they can cast a wider net in terms of buyers, MG has done the right thing and brought in the G50 Plus. Now, some of you may be complaining why they did a shot-by-shot remake of basically the Maxus G50, but it doesn't matter because it has worked. Again, in terms of the pricing, the 1.288 million is something that makes it pretty enticing to a lot of you Filipinos out there. And of course, something had to give, and they did remove features. But those qualms aside, for what it returns or what it gives, the MG G50 Plus ticks a lot of the boxes when it comes to people looking for a practical MPV, maybe for the first time. In that regard, when it comes to remakes, the G50 Plus is actually a good choice.